All right, it's time to skol with the enemy, Packer style. All right, welcome back to the Onebar and Lupagus show. I'm Lupagus, joined once again by our friend over at Packernet Podcast, Ryan. How the hell you doing?
Not as good as the last few times we've talked. This is probably the lowest I've been, but we're doing all right. We're doing fine.
Yeah, you've been on the show just about as much as I have, I think.
Yeah.
Again, we appreciate you coming on. Link will be in the description to his page. Go down there, give him a follow, give him a sub. Why the hell not? All right, so I'm going to talk about Jordan Love. Obviously, that's the big talker with the Packers right now, especially with the way their season has started. Just what's your thoughts on him through these first 6 games of the season?
Well, there's a lot of contention right now, and I found myself not super popular among Packers fans. I mean, I think the general notion is it's early, it's not a great situation with the young receivers, blah, blah, blah. Bottom line is, though, I mean, if you just take what we've seen so far and ask the question from what we've seen, is this the guy? The answer is no. That's not to say he can't become the guy. We've seen, obviously, just like everybody else, you've seen the highs and the peaks and the things that he can do, and that's great. And if he can do it more consistently, then he's the guy. So to any Packer fans that might be watching that are getting mad at me right now, just so we're clear, I'm not giving up on Jordan Love, but he hasn't demonstrated it. He hasn't put it forward, and I'm not buying the excuses of scheme and everything else. He just has to be better. So, I mean, the accuracy in general, but especially the downfield accuracy is appalling, I guess would be a good word to use. Under pressure has been an issue. Those are kind of the two things coming into the season. I was like, if he can clear that up, we're going to be good. He has not. And now the last few weeks, a few other things have started to regress. The positives are no longer positives. And it seems like he's kind of starting to, as the offensive line has had some struggles, he's kind of breaking down, getting up in his head. And fingers crossed for a big rebound from him. But, again, and this is another area people don't agree with me on, but I'm looking at it saying, for your sake, the clock's ticking. And I understand usually with rookies, it's like, well, they're going to get multiple years. This is year 4. I mean, it's his first year starting, but it's year 4. If we are bad enough, and I'm not saying we are, but if the Packers are bad enough that they end up with, let's say, a top 3 pick and there's a quarterback sitting there, I don't know that you can guarantee Jordan Love has a spot here. So, again, for his sake, put something together, please.
I know it's only been, 6 games, and did he start 1 last year or 2? What did he have last year?
He didn't start any. He came in like fourth quarter-ish against the Eagles.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, have you made a determination like what his ceiling might be? Like maybe compare it to a quarterback, or in your mind what you think he's going to ceiling out at?
It's tough to find a comp. I mean, in college, like the big high praise comp was like a poor man's Pat Mahomes kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I hate saying that because, people think, oh, yeah, but that's kind of his play style. It's kind of like Rodgers a little bit, outside the pocket, throwing off your back foot type stuff. He does do some really cool stuff, but we need him to start doing the simple stuff. There's a guy open, don't airmail it over his head. I mean, it's mm-hmm. pretty basic stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, things are kind of all over the place, and I get that he's kind of in a tough situation, but he knows the offense better than anybody else. As long as he's been here, he learned behind Aaron Rodgers. There just aren't a ton of excuses. It's time to kind of step up and execute.
You mentioned Aaron Rodgers. How much do you miss him?
I mean, it's time to move on. I mean, he wanted to move on. Packers wanted to move on. I mean, it would be great. I mean, if we could reset the clock and he was 25 years old, I would do that in a second. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, he's out for the season. I mean, he seems to think he's going to do some magic voodoo on his leg and he's going to come back this year. Congrats to him, I guess, on that. But, he's trying to squeeze a couple more years out of it. I get it. I don't like how the team operated when he was here, which was sort of all in. We were irresponsible with the money, which I don't like. That's not usually what the Packers do. It didn't pay off. So it's like I'm kind of done going down that let's push all the money out road and hurt our team for the future and everything else and try to reset. Mm-hmm. And ideally, Jordan Love would be that guy. I mean, we've got a lot of young guys. It's kind of an evaluation year in general. But if he's not, then we just got to find another guy. But either way, it's time to kind of try to find that next team.
What if he, like, let's say he plays well enough to maybe be like that game manager type, like that's what he looks like at the end of the season. Is that good enough?
Well, I mean, that's kind of what I said. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, I think last year, depending on what metrics you're looking at best was like the 12th best quarterback last year. And the team it just missed the playoffs. So this is kind of one of the things I talked about is the team will go as far as the quarterback will take you. When Rodgers was number one in 2020 and 2021, he won MVP. The offense was a top offense. Then when he dropped to about 12th and was a mid-range quarterback, we were a middling team and we missed the playoffs. Jordan Love is like the 25th best quarterback, and now our team is in the gutter. Mm-hmm. Just is what it is. So, yeah, I mean, if he can be a game manager, I mean, I don't think we're necessarily good because we don't have superstars built around us. You know, if we had Justin Jefferson or whatever, maybe in a good defense, if we could build around game manager, yeah, sure. But that's unfortunately kind of the goal right now is can you just get to game manager and then let's see what we can do from there. But we're not there yet. It's a work in progress.
All right. Well, you guys are 2-4. You mentioned the quarterback's probably a part of the reason that you are at 2-4. What are some other reasons why you guys are losing games?
You know, the team is just so I don't know the right word. I mean, disorganized, or they're not prepared. And I don't necessarily mean game plan or scheme wise, but I mean, even the guys that you would rely on that have been there for a while, some of these offensive linemen, they're not doing what they've been doing. Like Elton Jenkins is a great football player. He's been terrible. You know, Josh Myers and John Runyon, the center and guard, most people don't like them, but they're at least good pass blockers, and they've been really struggling. So it's just stupid stuff. I mean, you go back and watch this last game, and it's just every play, it's just one guy messed up. One guy messed. It's somebody described it as like Russian roulette. You just spin it and see who's going to mess this up and blow up the play. So, you know, and you got to put that on the coaching staff. I mean, these guys just act like they're not focused, they're not motivated, they're not sure what they're doing. I don't know if it's the lower level coaches or if it's a thing from the top level, but you know, the head coach has got to figure it out and get it set straight, because a lot of Packer fans, more so than Jordan Love, are looking at him and want his head. I don't necessarily agree, but there are some issues that need to get rectified.
All right, again, we're here with Ryan from Packernet Podcast. Give him a sub. A link will be in the description below. 2-4. Has there been any talk about you guys being sellers at the trade deadline coming up next week?
A little bit. I mean, I'm kind of that mind. You know, I remember when Brian Gutekunst took over, and they always say, you know, a team never tanks or whatever. You don't do that, but you kind of sort of tank. And the way you do that, you know, the GM does that is he starts selling people off. You know, I mean, the coach is never going to try to fail, but it's harder to win when you lose your slot corner because he got traded at the deadline, you know? Yeah. And that's what happened to the Packers in 2019 when Gutekunst, our GM, took over, is he just sold everybody off. And your team kind of gets gutted a little bit, and that's just sort of we're not trying to lose, it's just a lot harder to win this way. So I wouldn't be massively surprised. I mean, if Brian Gutekunst is looking at this and saying this is a disaster and there's no pulling out of this, then maybe. Who that would be becomes a little bit more tricky, especially since the injuries have been so massive right now that we can't really afford to lose anybody. I would have said like our kick returner / slot corner Keyshawn Nixon, but we just lost Eric Stokes to IR, and Jair has been dealing with a lot of injuries. So I don't think we can afford to lose him anymore. So I think we were more sellers than buyers, but I don't know if we have the bodies to do that.
Well, you mentioned the injuries. So any big name guys can be out for Sunday?
Well, our rookie tight end is in a boot right now, so he's down. Eric Stokes is on IR. Safety Darnell Savage got put on IR. I got the injury report actually sitting right here. We did get some good news, but some other guys that are hurt. Jair Alexander is hurt. We've got Devondre Campbell's been out for several weeks, our linebacker. Elton Jenkins, our guard, is still hurt. Yosh Nijman is a backup tackle who could be a starter very soon if the injuries continue. Devontae Wyatt, our second-year guy, who's actually been a really solid pass rusher for us, he's injured. And then actually Aaron Jones, who just got back from injury, he played in a limited role and didn't practice. So there's kind of a question of maybe he's kind of going to be down again. So, I mean, it's just brutal. It's one of those things you just kind of sit back and throw your hands up in the air and go, this is like everything is falling apart right now. It's crazy.
Yeah, it feels like the Vikings might be catching you guys at a good time.
Yeah.
Let's try to talk about something positive for the Packers. Who's been kind of a surprise player that maybe some people don't know about?
Oh, I wish, I'd love to highlight, for example, Devontae Wyatt and especially Rashawn Gary, but I mean, they've both been limited. Rashawn Gary, I mean, even Packer fans roll their eyes at me when I talk about it, but he's number 2 in sack rate right now. He's one of the highest pressure rate guys in the NFL. It doesn't translate to as much like raw statistics because he's been limited with an injury, but I mean, he really is, and it's kind of an unfortunate situation. His first couple years he was buried on the depth chart because we had Za'Darius and Preston, so he didn't play as much. He had one full season, and then he had his ACL. So I feel like he's a guy. He's kind of like Aaron Jones, who's unbelievably talented, but is just never being given like just that full, like Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa, like never comes off the field kind of thing. So you don't see the raw stats. And like Aaron Jones, unbelievably talented, but he gets 12 carries a game. It's not like Dalvin Cook back in the day where he was just getting, thousands of yards because of all the usage. So there's some good players. Unfortunately, most of them are injured right now. Yeah. Jair is injured and Rashawn is injured, and Devontae Wyatt has been a really incredible pass rusher. But I mean, I guys that you're going to see that I would want to highlight. I don't know.
All right. Well, that wasn't much of a positive, was it?
I'm sorry. I'll say Romeo Dobbs. He's had a couple good games.
All right.
Maybe he can do something.
All right. Who's one player every time he takes a field just makes you sick?
Oh boy.
Maybe there's more than one. I don't know.
Who would that be? The only one that kind of comes to mind is it's kind of unfair to pick on the rookies, but he's pretty far behind. It's rookie tight end Tucker Kraft. He hasn't been playing as much. There's some no-name tight end by the name of Ben Sims who's been getting more snaps.
He was on our practice squad.
There you go. Yeah, he's been getting more snaps than Kraft. So he's actually been doing pretty well. He's one of the few guys that I'm actually impressed with is Sims.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Kraft he's just kind of a liability in everything that he does. I've seen him catch like a pass and he can't block anybody. So, obviously, yeah, hopefully he'll develop in a couple of years, but it's just not good when he's on the field right now.
Yeah, Ben Sims. He was our undrafted free agent.
Yeah.
Didn't make the team. Yeah. All right. So any area the Packers have an advantage over the Vikings in this one?
I mean, again, the pass rush has been working. The biggest problem, aside from the injuries, which has kept all our pass rushers off the field, is the run defense is so bad it's hard to get in third and longs. So there haven't been a ton of tee-off situations, which is kind of what the entire defense is built on, which is stupid. We want to be in third and long, but we can never get in third and long because we're idiots. So that would be kind of the only real area. I mean, running the ball, Packers historically are always terrible, and that's not different. They've been struggling to pass the ball, they've been struggling to run the ball. So don't get in third and long, and you'll be fine, I think.
Okay. All right. Well, again, Ryan, thanks for hopping on. We appreciate you every time you make the time to talk to us. This has been an enjoyable one because, I mean, you're just so down. It's giving me confidence. But how do you see it shaking out on Sunday?
I mean, I think it's so weird. And this whole season has been so weird. Like every prediction has been wrong. Nothing makes sense. I was high on the Vikings all season, and then I finally gave up. I'm like, you know what? I'm not backing you guys anymore. You suck, and I give up on you. And then you beat the 49ers, and I'm like, I don't know. I quit. So, I mean, look, it's a winnable game. I really don't think either team is a very good football team. If the Packers could put their stuff together, it's very winnable. They just have not demonstrated it, and the Vikings are riding high on a big win. Obviously, the Packers are the team that have been kind of terrorizing the division. So I think the Vikings and the Lions and the Bears get a little bit of extra oomph, especially in Green Bay, to be able to take it to them kind of in front of the fans and everything else. So I'm going to give it to the Vikings. I think it'll be kind of a close game, but yeah, I'm giving the edge to the Vikings.
I like it. I like the way you think. All right, man. Again, appreciate you coming on. Appreciate you schooling with us for like I don't know, it's got to be damn near the 12th time.
Probably, yeah.
All right. Well, you are the man. Good luck Sunday. Good luck the rest of the year. Hope you guys can get healthy, and maybe Jordan Love can turn around for you.
All right. I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
All right. Take her easy. And remember, keep your school in your hole, too.
It's weird.